I'm actually going to love if you pick up your hand and that it's that. I'm going to be like, did you get into like a little bit of a scuffle over some legal procedure?
Yeah, you should see the other guy.
Exactly. Hi, everyone. It's Susie Mordoh from Greater Than We, and I am so glad to be back here with another conversation with women that love what they do. And I love nothing more than talking to my friend, the go-to business lawyer, Susan Burns. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susie. How are you today?
I'm great. I am so glad you're here because, first of all, it's the first time we've had any legal counsel, which is a good thing. And I love to kind of have a conversation with women, see if it sparks somebody else that's watching. Maybe they want to go into law or they've got some general questions. Like, how did you find something that, you loved what you did? And then there's also that putting kind of the face behind the name or the business. So people just get to see you talking instead of, being entirely all legal, because we're going to have some fun in this too.
Okay. I love fun.
Great. So usually the way we start out is generally what brought you to this point. Like, I know you actually might be the lawyer that I know that loves your job more than anybody. So what brought you to this point? And did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer? I want to hear your story.
Oh my gosh. How much time do you have, Susie?
You just let it go.
This could be days, actually. Just let your head hit the table if it gets too long.
All right, the Cliff Notes.
Okay. Actually, I told my dad when I was in high school that I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And he advised me that women didn't become lawyers. That's not what women did. They became teachers, and eventually became mothers, and lawyers wasn't an option.
Okay, wait, I'm going to just stop you there because there was a little bit of a glitch. So we're going to let that play through. But you said your dad, it was almost perfect. Like he karmically did this. Your dad said women don't become lawyers, they become, and then it glitched. So become.
Okay. So you want me to say that sentence again?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in high school, I told my dad I wanted to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And he told me that women don't become lawyers, they become teachers or nurses. And then eventually they get married and have children and stay home.
There you go.
And he also told me he was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And he also told me that when he was in law school, there was one woman in the whole entire, all three classes of the whole school that was wanting to be a lawyer. And he said that some of the guys, not him, of course, but some of the guys made it tough on her, and he didn't want that for me.
So he's looking out for you, but, he's following probably what generations before him, like, let's do what's safe and easy.
That was the tradition. And this was in the early 70s, mind you. So it was a bit ago. So I kind of shelved that, and I went to college, and I graduated with a degree in German. And there isn't anything to do with a degree in German, but I still had this pull. I still was thinking about wanting to be a lawyer. And what I wanted to do was to be in international law at that point. Or I wanted to help criminal defendants that were on death row and shouldn't have been.
Right.
But I wanted to help. Like the international thing, I wanted to do something to make better relationships between countries and better understanding and promote. So I'm the oldest of five, so I always wanted to help. That was I'm a helper person.
Right.
So after working a year after college, I decided to go to law school. Mm-hmm. So I did. And it's been a series of just trying different things. I've done almost everything there is to do. I've had my own practice, which I do now. Mm-hmm. I've worked for the largest law firm in the state of Minnesota, so I worked on multi-million-dollar cases, traveled a lot, did the high test thing. I worked in small and medium-sized firms. I was in-house general counsel for a telecommunications company, And I loved things about every single one of those jobs, but it wasn't it, I kept moving on to doing different things. The one cool thing about being a lawyer is the law always changes.
Right.
And there is such a wide variety of, the fields of law are becoming so specialized, but you can do anything. So it never is boring, right? But about probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was working on a big case, and I was volunteering some time at an organization here in the Twin Cities that helped women launch their businesses. And through that, I was referred a woman who asked if I could represent her individually, and she had put every ounce of energy, money, focus into building this dream, and she started this retail store that was so amazing. It was really cool. It filled a niche that hadn't been filled before.
Right.
And she was so excited about starting her business that she saved money and didn't hire a lawyer, and she didn't even really review her lease. So in the 3rd year of her business, there was a clause in her lease, and by this time she was successful and she was going gangbusters. So there was a clause in her lease that effectively doubled her rent in the 3rd year.
Oh, no.
Which meant that she was basically out of business and nowhere to go.
Right.
By the time she came to see me, it was too late. I couldn't do anything to help her. That wouldn't have cost, tens of thousands of dollars. So as a result, she lost her business and the community lost what she had to offer. And it was a vital service to the community. So since that time, it's been my mission to try to figure out how to help empower women business owners to take charge of the legal, to understand that it's a foundational cornerstone of their success, and it's a make or break. Now, you can skate through without it. Right. It does happen, but if there is a glitch, it can be the demise of your business. And so I think also because when I started practicing law in 1981, there were very few women, and it was difficult to find my way as a woman. I didn't have role models. I didn't know how I was supposed to be. I clearly wasn't a man, but so how do you act in a man's world when you're not a man, So I have a special affinity to helping women succeed.
That, I have to tell you that you really brought up a couple of things that I was thinking I was going to ask you. And one was, well, first of all, it is so necessary for women to have a woman that they could trust like you to answer those questions. I know that we met, full disclosure, that we had met online in a speaking course. And it was so exciting that you were there, and you've always been so generous with any legal questions. And by the way, you're using that hashtag cover your assets, which that story that you just told is the perfect example of that. And I was always wondering, do men and women have different questions, or do you just really focus on the women now? I mean, I'm sure obviously through your career, you've had different clients, but people probably come to it a little bit differently. And women feel embarrassed because they don't even know. They think, I set it up with an LLC. I have a lawyer that helped me through the beginning process. But, a contract like you're saying right now, any contract review with employees or with clients, super important. How would you advise that?
Yeah, it is super important. And I'm not sure I understand how would I advise what. I'm not sure I understand that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't clear with that. Meaning, how would you advise people to not do that themselves, or the trouble that they might get into if they don't have a lawyer? Kind of give it a look once over.
Yeah, I think the critical thing there is when you're establishing a business, you want to have professionals that you can work with in your corner. So you want a really good lawyer, you want a really good CPA, depending on the business, you might need other things. But those professional services you absolutely need. A lot of people will will say, well, I have, I'm starting up. I have only so many dollars, so that I'm going to spend my discretionary dollars on marketing. Great. Market the bejesus out of your business. And then when you run into a problem, a legal problem,
Right.
then where are you? All of that is nothing built on
Exactly.
people to go it alone.
Mm-hmm. The internet, well, the internet, very often people go online and they'll be like, oh, I just downloaded a standard contract or a standard lease or a standard form, and think that that's good enough. And
so there is no such thing as a standard contract.
Mm-hmm.
Even I used to represent banks.
Right.
And so I would do commercial lending transactions all the time. And I had one banker, one vice president, he would call me up and he'd say, okay, Susan, here's the deal. And he'd give me the stats on the new loan. And he'd say, so just take one of your forms and fill in the blanks. His name was Steve. And I always would say, Steve, I can't do that, because even though it was a similar situation, you still have to read through, and there is always something in every contract that's different depending on the situation. You can, what I do is I work with businesses to come up with a sort of a template that works with them, and then every situation we go through the variables and then do a final review. But I never advise downloading a contract off the internet and filling in the blanks. It rarely works for you. And people come to my office saying, well, here, can you just take a look at this? And I'm like, yeah. And it's almost easier to start over than it is to try to fix it. But.
I imagine. Are there, there are people that watch this that really are worldwide. We've got, Australia and Israel and Japan that, I hear from women all over Canada.
Oh,
so
great.
Is it different, country to country, state to state even? Are you able to give, country to country, I'd imagine is like a whole other, the laws are just, you got to probably find somebody in your own neck of the woods. But what about even state to state? Do you advise?
So I do a couple of things. There are certain instances that I can represent people on globally, and people from other countries that do business here. Obviously, I can represent those. I also represent businesses that are doing business in Mexico. And then one of the things that I have done that is really exciting for me is I just launched Small Business Legal School.
Oh, I love that.
And and so that's a format for people to learn about legal issues. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things are universal. And I do have a Canadian lawyer that advises on the webinars. So for sure, US and Canada are covered. But for me to represent somebody in Japan would be, no, that's not a good idea.
Sure,
but I also do have contacts. So I'm involved in the American Bar Association International Law section. So I can help people find lawyers in those countries.
That's great. I'll put all those links. So if somebody wants to find you and sign up for the legal school, that would be great. Or whatever the information is that you're kind of given away. Now, so for whatever reason, you triggered in my head Elle Woods, like Clueless, and that the women that are coming, like you entered, going to law school at a time where obviously there weren't many women, and you're standing out amongst your crowd, and I'm sure there's an asset of like the male, female, even in the courtroom when you were working in company to company, whether there were fewer women lawyers, but some of the women that probably come to you are really looking for a user-friendly, a good dialogue. And I don't know, the Elle Woods thing is just about how anybody can understand it if you kind of break it down and it's given to you in a digestible way. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the critical things in finding a lawyer is a lot of the older model, if you will, is to keep the mystique about the law, and I'm Solomon who knows about the law, and you come to me and here, I'll take care of it, and don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Especially women. A lot of men are very patronizing toward women in business, and I hear those stories a lot from people that, from my clients that end up working with me. But I make sure that I break it down, and that is really what part of my mission is, to empower women. I want you to understand, and not to think that we can talk about something, then you're going to be able to do it yourself. No, I've practiced for 30 some years. I went to law school. I have tons of experience. You can't do what I can do, but I can explain to you so that you can understand what's important, what isn't important. When do you need to call a lawyer? When do you need to take specific action? Right. And it's more like, it's a partnership, not a legal partnership, but I like to work in partnership with my clients. And I think that's what people should look for when they find a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. I have to say, whether I'm buying a car, talking to a lawyer, or my accountant, I'll be like, either break it down, pretend I'm in 4th grade and explain it to me that way. Or if I'm at the end and I think I've asked everything, but I'm uncertain, my favorite question, doesn't matter what I'm doing, is what question haven't I asked you that I should be? Like, what's the thing you've been waiting for me to ask that I haven't asked yet? Because it's just showing I don't even know what I don't know, and I need your help.
Yeah, good question. And that's the thing, also with law, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they need to know. And there's a lot out there. The law impacts every aspect of your business. So
yeah, it's so you are, I'm certainly glad that you are in my corner. I have to tell you that.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So, okay, instead of, since it's a full-on conversation and we've got work and play, what do you do for a little work-life balance? Keeping the, right side of the brain, left side of the brain balanced out a little bit.
Okay, well, that's funny you should ask, because one of the things I do in the morning is I do make sure I have time for meditation. Mm-hmm. So that just kind of grounds me in my day. And then I draw a card, and this morning's card was desire, and it was all about making sure that I have balance in my life. Now, I am not a believer in balance. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's possible. I believe in priorities.
Okay.
And I think it's impossible to have perfect balance between all areas of my life. And I was always struggling to find balance. And then I heard someone speaking. Her name was Lois Quam, phenomenal woman leader. Okay. And she said, you don't have to have balance. Mm-hmm. And my shoulders just went, mm-hmm. Like, oh, thank you. Because I never could do it. It was one more thing I was failing at. And right. Women professionals in particular have a lot that they're supposed to be excelling at. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned it's about priorities. So what are my priorities? And learning to say no. As Ariana Huffington says, yes, no is a complete sentence.
Correct.
So it's a matter of just making sure that I have what are my priorities, reviewing those regularly. Mm-hmm. What I realized in the last little bit, that my priorities were out of whack. I didn't have time for friends. I didn't have time for family. I didn't have time I was work. And kind of an interesting thing happened. I was really tired coming to work in the morning, and I was going up the steps, and we have concrete stairs, and I had my purse in one hand and dragging my briefcase, and I was like in a hurry, but I was so tired, and I fell, hit my hand on the step, and I broke it. I broke a bone in my hand, and I'm right-handed, so it doesn't help with typing. But I heard a voice that said, we've been trying to get you to slow down. And I thought, oh, great. Now I'm hearing voices too. How phenomenal.
Well, I hope you listened to that. No? A little?
Yeah. So since that time, I've been refocusing my efforts and making sure that I have time. I just went to a movie last night, for example, and I get outside. One of the things for me is being in nature. Mm-hmm. That's been a little tough with the -8 degrees in Minnesota.
Really cold here too, but not -8. That's much colder.
Yeah.
I was going to say, work-life balance. I don't think that's something that, you know, it's always evolving, and I don't think you get that on a daily basis. But like maybe in a week, you can factor in a little for you with the lot for work, with the little for this one, because you do have to take care of yourself. And I am great at some quotes, but I'm terrible at like who said them or exactly the way they were said, but I'll give you the gist. And it was something like, you know, God, or the universe will like whisper to you, when they're talking, you know, in the good times, and then they'll consciously kind of talk to you when you're a little uncertain, and then they're like screaming at you when like something big happens, like it's time for you to listen. So when you were telling that story about slipping, I'm like, oh, they're sending you the message.
Saying, oh yeah, I mean, there was no doubt about it. That was 100% clear. Like, bam.
Exactly.
Stop.
So what would you? Let me ask you this, because now that we've just come sort of the point where, what would you tell your younger self? You know, any advice, given that you've now worked a lot, you're getting a little bit of the message from the universe, where you weren't, you know, looking back.
Yeah, take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Put yourself
and you know, maybe your dad doesn't have all the answers, right? Like, you know, you can still do what you want to do, even though he was looking out for your highest good, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, his heart was in the right place.
Exactly. That's what
this little girl to get hurt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when I usually wrap up these conversations, and first I'm going to ask you, like, how can people find you, and whether it's your website, and I will type everything out at the end, but you know, any sort of one-on-one or consultation or anything you want people to know about you, I'd love to give you that opportunity to let them know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right now?
Yep.
So I have 2 websites. If you want to contact me for legal advice, it's susanburnslegal.com. And then for Small Business Legal School, it's smallbusinesslegalschool.com.
Perfect.
And you can sign up for the mailing list. There's a download for free legal advice, and then you get updates. And right now I'm in the introductory phase, so there's a special price, and that'll go up in a couple of months. Mm-hmm. But, and my email contact is on both of the websites.
Excellent. And I'll edit that in. They'll see that at the bottom here as well.
Okay, or phone.
And then usually what we do to wrap up is, you know, I have a little play time. It's angel card time.
Yay.
You're willing to play with those. And I love that you pull cards. So you can't be all left brain, right? It's got to, you know, if you got a little bit of that meditation, creativity.
Do you know what? I'm not left brained. I actually have pretty good balance. I'm very creative. I'm highly creative. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's good stuff then. So what I do is I spread them out. I just knocked on them earlier. I said a little, you know, wish that is for your highest and greatest good. And then I'll just kind of point around, and you're going to tell me when to stop, and I'll pull that one. Okay.
Okay.
So you tell me, I can go back, I can go forward.
Stop. Yep.
This one?
No.
The one?
No, the other way.
Okay, so wait. This one?
Yep.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
No, not at all.
It
happens all the time. Look, can you see what it says?
Nature, yes.
So what do you get when you see this beautiful card?
Yeah, more time in nature.
Mm-hmm. You said it yourself earlier.
Yes.
So
it's actually the same message I received this morning.
Wow, really?
Loud and clear, yes.
Wow. So, you know, I mean, to me, it says right there, you gotta get out. You gotta get out of the walls and the internal, and connect not just with nature, but with your internal.
Yes.
When I see that, but you mentioned, you know, with that, there's no accident that one came up, since you just mentioned it, which these angel cards always have a way of doing that.
They do, indeed. It's no accidents.
Exactly. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. I really enjoy talking to you, and I hope that you will, you know, maybe do this again another time when we'll catch up on what's new. And I really appreciate you being here, and I wish you all the best.
My absolute pleasure, Susie, and I would love to talk with you again anytime.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.